Bonjour à tous, and now let's switch to English. I hope that's not a problem for anyone. I'm Stefan Barensky. I'm the chief editor of the Aerospace magazine. We're currently preparing our issue number 200, and I was browsing through the very first issues of Aerospace in 2016, and my God, what a different world it was. Really, in 8 years, the world has changed a lot in space, with a lot of newcomers. I'm stating the obvious, but now there are huge corporations led by billionaires that are having their own agendas and doing nearly what they want in low Earth orbit, and even further than that. And there is also an increasing role of smaller newcomers and new space startups, which can be, should be, maybe sometimes are really, driving forces of innovation. But for a long time, space agencies have been ruling the game. It doesn't seem to be still real today. I'm really proud to have Mr. Philippe Baptiste, PDG of CNES, with me today to discuss this, and Mr. Yasuo Ishii, who is the Vice-President of the JAXA, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, which is really an honor. So now we have to deal with private entities in space. How does this infringe your traditional role? Is it limiting the scope of your activities, or is this, let's say, a factor of new opportunities? Which one of you?
So the answer is pretty simple. Of course, it's great new opportunities. This is very true. Our role is changing. It's not the same today as what it was 20 years ago, where, basically there were 5 agencies all over the world that were playing in space and that were doing everything. The situation is completely different today. But it's great news, because it means also that there is a lot of business around space. It means that the industry is growing. It means that basically there are new opportunities, and it's just an amazing success of space in our society today. So we should not complain at all about that. On the contrary, I think it's, again, great opportunities. But what does it mean for space agencies? Well, it means that basically what is our role today? I think that it depends a lot on what you are talking about. Typically when you are doing some high-end scientific mission with very complex instruments and so on, I'm not sure that our role has changed so much. It's pretty much the same as what it used to be. But on the contrary, when you are very close to the market, when you are discussing space applications or satellites that have applications, typically in telecommunication or in some areas of Earth observation, of course, the industry is really leading, and it's great. And basically, it means that we should adapt the way we work with the industry depending on the type of topic we are talking about.
Mr. Ishii?
Yes, thank you for your question, and my answer is almost the same as Mr. Baptiste explained. And the space industries and the market is expanding very quickly, and there are a lot of new startups appears also in Japan. And it is very good for us to see such expanding economy from the space, from the perspective of space agencies. And I think that the role of the space agency will not be changed, but the relation between the space agency and the private sector might be changed. Maybe the nature of the contract with the private sector might be changed. We had the kind of the traditional side development, that is the government-led project, But nowadays, we are considering to establish the public-private partnership to have the new relation with the private sectors. And that would be one of the kind of a new option for us to seek the new and efficient and maybe cost-effective development. And we'd like to seek for the win-win relationships between the agency and the private sector. So again, our how to say, the situation derived from the public sector is really opening the doors for us.
Thank you. Just to be sure, because I'm not really familiar with, and I've lost all my questions. Okay. There is a strong involvement of CNES in the regulatory role for space. Is there a similar role for JAXA?
Yes, I mean, we have also the same type of Space Act in Japan, and that act is operated at the government level. Cabinet Office of Japan is operating that Space Act. And to support the operation, JAXA has the role to support technical basis and also our experiences. And that our role is to support the Japanese government.
Thank you. Well, most of the time when we talk about private space activities, we talk a lot about venture capitalists. But, well, in France, the CNES is also a relay of the government to fund new space efforts through various investment tools like the PIA, I don't know how to translate it, France Relance, France 2030 and others. Depending on who you talk to, there are some praise or criticism saying that, well, it's a lot of sprinkling resources expecting that something will grow. Or others would like to have real contracts but say, oh, it's like perfusion. Where do you think the cursor should be, Mr. Baptiste?
Thank you very much. Well, before answering this difficult question, I just want to add one point to the previous topic on the role of space agencies. I think that with the development of what we call all of us new space today, so many new companies, newcomers, it means that it's also easier to work in space. And now you see that you have, for instance, in the at the governmental level, you have different entities that pass a direct contract to some small companies or big companies to get some kind of service. Before they used to work through CNES, and now they have direct relationship. And it's just great. I mean, it means that we don't have to be everywhere. We need to be at the place where we have an added value. So, I mean, of course, it's a change, but I mean, let's focus on the topics where we do have an added value. Okay, so that was just my additional comment on the first question. Now coming to basically the fact of, I mean, how do we use our resources? I mean, typically France 2030 or France Relance and all this money. And it's true. I mean, we can hear from time to time people saying that basically you are spreading it all over, and there will be no impact. It's a bit early to say, but I would just like to mention the fact that it's what we are doing right there is not something completely new. I mean, it has been done before in other domains, and it has been done already typically in the US. So what we want to do is we want to foster innovation, and we want to have many new players taking a lot of risks and coming with very innovative ideas. It does not mean that you do not have innovation inside large companies. It does not mean that you do not have innovation inside agencies. But of course, your ability to take risk is much greater when you are a small company and where basically you are making a bet. You know that, I mean, your bet is you have 1 chance over 10 to survive, and you are taking a lot of risk. You put a lot of energy into one idea, and you hope it will go through. And this is the reason why we want to have this new space business. And it's the same in any other area. I mean, in the energy business, or it's the same, of course, in computer science, in data science, and so on. So it's the same bet. So basically what we are doing today is that, yes, we know that we are putting quite some amount of money to have some new companies that are created. We know that several of these companies will not survive, but our bet is that some of them will, and they will be able to, and our bet again is that because they have put all their energy, they have taken, I mean, a lot of risks, I mean, there will be some kind of reward, and some of them will be very innovative and will be champions tomorrow. So that's basically a bet, and I'm pretty sure it will be the case. We already have some good signs for at least some of them. Of course, the specific points that we have to address is that, especially in Europe and in France, where we have we have a great asset. No? The great asset is that we have several of the big players who are in France today, big European players that are in France today. So of course we need to be very cautious not to stop the support to these big players and to put everything on the small ones. So there is a balance that we need to keep. Today I hear that everybody is unhappy, so it means that we have found some kind of good.
Yes, a compromise is when everybody.
No, I'm joking, but I mean, of course, we need to find a compromise between the two of them. And typically, and I think that we are not the only one who are doing that. Even when you are building very big projects, Antoine was talking about Iris Square a few minutes ago. I mean, typically, I think that's exactly what the Commission is trying to do too. That's what we are doing. That's what we are trying to do too on launchers. I mean, we are supporting heavily Ariane 6. We are very proud of Ariane 6. It's a bit costly, but we are very proud of Ariane 6. But at the same time, we want to have new players, we want to have newcomers, we want to have new ideas, because we want to prepare the future.
Thank you. Well, the situation in Japan must be really different. I must confess, I don't know Japan. I've never been there, but there are huge industries there. How is JAXA doing to support newcomers or to support established company? Do you have the same tools from the Japanese government than we have that we have in France?
Well, first of all, the JAXA support the small company as well as the big companies like traditional heavy industry or something. It's depend on the situation or occasions, or depending on the level of the technology advancement, and also it really depends on what kind of support do that company need. And we should talk directly to that company, and we should reach the agreement at the level of our, the level of very high level management. Mm-hmm. And then we can start the collaboration. That is what we are doing with the private companies, and we are very much open to, always open to any private companies, and not only space company, but also not space-related company as well. And for the investment, let me introduce the newly established so-called Space Strategy Fund in Japan. And that was really newly established. We started this operation this summer. And the Japanese government had the vision to expand the space industry and the economy, and they'd like to keep the space, ecosystem, including the industry, government, and universities. And JAXA has a role to manage that the fund operation, and as well as the management of the operation, we are expected to have the technical management. That means that we should check how their research development are going well as scheduled or not. And sometimes we are expected to have some technical advice to them. And that is our role. And so far, our fund is really starting situation. So far there are a lot of expectation, more than the criticism. And I would like to learn much more about the, how to say, kind of difficult management of this type of funding from CNES.
Well, let's take an example, the launchers. Well, the situation is quite similar between Europe and Japan. We both have a new heavy-duty launcher. We both have challenged smaller launcher, Vega or Epsilon. And we both have newcomers. Well, you are in front of us with that because, well, there was its Kairos launch, which unfortunately didn't go very well. But so, how do you expect the private and public effort to live together? And is there also an option in Japan to push some competitiveness, competition between all the players?
Between all the players?
Yes, between MHI, Epsilon is IHI, and well,
the Kairos
Space
rocket.
One and,
Okay.
and newcomers that could come.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for your question. But before answering this question, I'd like to congratulate everybody who contributed to the successful launch of Ariane 6. Congratulations. We really know that is not an easy task, and we had actually we had a launch failure 2 years before, and after 1 year we recovered, and we had the successful launch of H3 second flight, and this July we had the third flight of H3 with the Aeros 4 or satellite, and coming back to the support to the launcher companies. Well, at the beginning of development of H3 rocket, we had some kind of framework with MHI, and we agreed that JAXA is responsible for the development of the key technology, like a main engine and avionics system, something like that. And MHI agreed to be responsible for the future operation in the commercial operation. So, I mean, the commercial operation means that they have to design how to keep the cost lower with their design. So this kind of the framework is agreed at the beginning of our development of H3. So after we established the stable launching situation of H3, we will transfer our all responsibility to MHI for the commercial launching operation. And so far I heard there are good rumor about H3, and I really expect the MHI will have the competitiveness in the launcher market. And for the small company like S1, they developed a Kairos rocket, but indeed that small launcher was one of the derivatives from our sounding rocket operated or developed by JAXA. And based on that technology, they decided to have the purely private sector to launch the small satellite. And in that case, of course, we have the agreement to use our the intellectual property. And also, we have some collaborative research activities with S1 rocket, especially for some technology to have the autonomous operation of the launcher. And again, it really depends on the will of the company, what type of which area they want to collaborate with JAXA, and the discussion is needed until we agreed how to collaborate with that small company. But anyway, again, we are always open to any private sectors.
And just to be sure, to launch from their own launch site, they had to get your permission, your license, or did they go to elsewhere in the government?
No, as you said, that we have the Space Act. Space Act and is operated at the government level, the Cabinet Office of Japan. They have the authority to give the license to launch a rocket. Yes.
Okay. Well, situation in France, CNES is supporting a lot of development through all these tools we said before. And ESA is preparing the European Launcher Challenge, which we don't know yet what it will eventually be. Well, has to be discussed next year. Could we consider that helping those newcomers is unfair competition?
Well, thank you for the question. Point number one is that, I mean, does anyone in this room believe that we can develop a heavy launcher without heavy subsidies from the government? The answer is that I don't know, perhaps it will happen tomorrow, but to be very clear, today, there is no heavy launcher anywhere in the world that is not heavily subsidized by its government. So thinking that tomorrow morning we will have a heavy launcher, a European heavy launcher, that will be paid 100% by private companies, I mean, is a nice dream, but unfortunately, I say unfortunately because we are paying for it. So I mean, if tomorrow morning there is one which is coming, please raise your hand. I'm taking it.
I'm afraid Mr. Arnaud is not in the room.
Okay, good. So first thing is that this question of whether it's fair or not to heavily subsidize a heavy launcher. I mean, this question does not make much sense. I mean, there is no heavy launcher which is not heavily subsidized. Which does not mean, Antoine, that if you can reduce costs, of course fair enough. Okay, so that's my first point. Second point, I mean, the European Launcher Challenge. So it's mostly dedicated not to heavy launchers, but I would say it's not clearly stated, but it's most likely for medium launchers. But I mean, the main problem with the European Launcher Challenge is the one that you have pointed in your question. I mean, what is the European Launcher Challenge? And I don't have the answer to this question. This question is discussed from time to time by 22 countries around the ESA table, so it's always very, very interesting. You have different point of views, and at some point there something will come, but right now it's not the case. And there is, at the same time, there is a matter of urgency. I mean, there are some few technologies that we do need to develop in Europe that we don't have. Typically reusability, and we also have joint projects between JAXA and CNES on this topic, and DLR too. But I mean, we need to have companies that come and that work heavily on small launcher, medium launchers to prepare the future. And we cannot afford to wait 2 years for that. So that's basically the reason why we have developed a framework, which is a framework from CNES, which was open to any European companies, by the way. And some of them, 4 of them, 4 French ones, that's very true, have been successful, and we support them. We don't support them, we don't give them money to develop their launcher. We give them money to, basically we are buying launch demonstration. So this is their own responsibility. And I mean, it answers the question of the urgency. We need to move forward fast. And I mean, there is a responsibility, of course, of the industry, of the choice that have been made and so on, but there is also a responsibility for the agencies, for the choice that we have made, and also for our complex European organization.
Well, let's move to the elephant, not in the room, but in orbit, with the very, very big players that are taking over the circum-Earth orbit. For a long time, it's been discussion between the agencies to prepare some kind of space traffic management. Well, to go beyond the just tracking of debris well, today we have 10,000 active satellites in low Earth orbit, and about 70% of them are belonging to only one private entity. Does this mean that the agencies and the government are still something to say? Where do we go from there to manage this orbital traffic?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the question. And we understand that we receive the benefit from some kind of big constellation of the satellites, like connectivity or social inclusion. But on the other hand, we have to secure the sustainable space activity, and also we should secure the astronomical observation from the ground. That means we have to consider some technical constraints to that activities, not only the constellation, but also all the government or companies have to pay attention to that debris problem. And the important point is to have the kind of openness and transparency about the technologies, and also our best practice should be shared among the countries. In that sense, including the CNES or NASA or any other advancing space agency, should lead such kind of activities in the discussion at the level of UN or any other international opportunities. And at JAXA, we are doing a very active contribution to the Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee. And we have the experience that our derivative from our guideline became the basis of the UN guideline. So our role is getting very much important nowadays, I think.
Mr. Baptiste?
Yeah. As you have mentioned, we have 10,000 satellites today, and I think that within the next few years it will still increase a lot. And to be very clear, I mean, nobody imagined that this could be possible decades ago. And there is no regulatory framework that has been designed or sought to try to regulate this kind of activities, because nobody thought this would happen. And so we don't have a regulation today that would allow governments, even if they agree, to try to regulate this kind of huge activity. And of course, yes, there is a problem, because there is a problem of I mean, space needs to be sustainable, so there might be too many satellites. We have problem in terms of traffic management, a problem in terms of debris, a problem in terms of image also of the space sector and the own responsibility of the space sector to the society. We have also some question, because I mean, if you drastically increase the number of launch and the number of debris that come back to Earth, this has an impact on Earth. Before, that was not measurable because it was very, very small, and we have very small number of launch. tomorrow, I mean, if we carry on with this kind of activities that we have today, I mean, this needs to be understood better, measured better. I'm not saying it's a danger or whatever. I'm just saying, I mean, we don't know exactly what the overall impact of this activity at very high level. So, of course, there is a question of regulation, and right now we don't have the right tools to make this regulation. So, so I heard a big company, probably the one you were mentioning too, once, I mean, her CEO told me, well, I mean, you should not worry because we are a responsible company. And I was very happy to hear that. But I think that, well, it's good that they are responsible. It's even better if we have some kind of regulation tools at the intergovernmental level. But we don't have it now, and this is something on which we should work.
Well, so I tried to compress all my questions into one. Well, you have a lot of cooperation between CNES and JAXA, science, interplanetary, climate, everything. How could you cooperate to have your say in front of these big players who consider you more like potential customers than partners?
Just start, but first I want to say that Japan is an amazing and a great partner, and we are so proud to work jointly with JAXA. So from many missions, as you have mentioned. Yes, we are customers, but I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, when you are putting a seismometer on Mars, when you have a MMX mission or things like that, I mean, we are not a customer. I mean, because we don't have a company in front of us that designs seismometers to go to Mars and that we buy on the shelf. So I mean, of course, for some topic, yes, we are customers. For some, and we were not before. For other ones, I mean, it's a completely different story, and we still need to strongly cooperate with companies to design our missions. Then I think that, well, to answer your question, I think that we need more regulation. So sorry, it's the same answer as before, but we need more regulation. Space is not, it cannot be, I mean, some kind of Far West, no? Yeah.
Well, I have the same kind of opinion as Mr. Baptiste said, and we are very happy to work together, CNES, always. And every time we discuss about our space activities with CNES, we find the very similar, how to say, the situation and the very similar nature to both of us. And that's why I think we can have the historically good partnerships in this area. And for the big companies, and I don't know how they are looking at us, but again, I think we are very open to the private sector, and we'd like to find the good occasion to have the good win-win relationship through the public-private partnerships, maybe. So it's depend on the occasion, I think. So I hope we can find the good opportunity to cooperate with them, maybe with CNES as well.
Well, thank you. Well, time is gone, but I have just a tiny reflection. A few days ago, Mr. Musk has announced that he will launch 2 Starships to Mars in 2026, which, if it happens, will totally be against the regulations for planetary protection from COSPAR. How do you, science space agencies, well, do you plan to react?
I don't know. I mean, 26 is coming very, very soon. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know right now. I'm not sure that there is an urgency to react right now. We have to think about it, we have to discuss this, but I think that we had a bit of time, and very likely a bit more time than 26.
Well, I understand the planetary protection regulation at COSPA is very important, and we are doing, how to say, the review for that kind of requirement should be satisfied or not for our planetary mission. And maybe I already mentioned that it is very important for us to have the transparency at the technology level. And I don't know how we react, but we expect they have the good transparency at the international relations.
Thank you very much.